Hello, YouTube. This is Willie B here. Today I've got a special guest in the form of my good friend Andrew Cook. And today we're going to be talking about U.S. Nationals, but not just U.S. Nationals. We're going to talk about Andrew's top 8 U.S. National performance. This is going to be his tournament report. Andrew, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It was a fantastic trip all around. When we get there, we'll see. There was some disappointments towards the end, but it all pivoted right back around. And I cannot complain about a thing. Had some time to recover from the weekend. It was a bit of a rough journey back, but now we're a week out and we're in the clear. We're relaxing and seeing how everyone else handles things now. So just
Absolutely.
watching the fireworks.
It was so nice to just get to watch calling Bologna tournament coverage today and kind of just get to sit back and enjoy it. No stress involved at all.
Oh yeah,
I'm
definitely
gonna go
enjoyed
ahead
it.
and jump over to your deck list real quick.
Hmm.
This is the list right here that you managed to achieve a top 8 in the U.S. Nationals. Some people might say the toughest of the national series. That's up for debate.
Yeah, well, I mean, every tournament has their killers. We just have a bigger pool to pull on, maybe, in a lot of places.
That's a good point.
But I mean, look at the Pro Tour London. Final two both coming in from Spain, right?
Yep, yep.
So that might be the toughest one now.
Ain't that the truth? Something I really enjoyed watching you do this weekend, which is something I hadn't seen before. I think you did it on your stream game. You swung a an Angel of Rebirth at one point and put a Figment back on top of your deck, which is so funny. I think you mentioned after the fact that that's actually pretty common now, but it was the first time
Yeah,
I'd ever actually seen a Prism do it. That was pretty cool.
yeah. It is a so everyone's scared with Rebirth of the Arclight loop.
Yeah.
Um, Uh, that's not actually that common to do. There are certain scenarios where you can play towards it and you can stumble into it, but most of the time, Avalon is going to be buying back just an important other game piece, and one of the figments is usually the best choice for that.
Hmm.
I get, Rebirth of, Erudition is, of course, the most inherently powerful one, so that's a common target. But I tend to get War back a fair bit as well because when we reach the end game where I'm doing this kind of play, I usually just need some closing power, and
Hmm.
War can help stack up the angels pretty quickly. Uh,
Absolutely. And I bring this up because there's a bit of an exciting development. Not only are you a bit of a Prism whiz who knows these cool interactions with Avalon recycling something as scary as a Figment of Erudition, because like you said, everybody knows about the Arclight loop. But as someone who's fought a lot of Prism in my days, it's Figment of Erudition fetching that ponder and then just being a house of like power in the game for you. So the fact that you get to use it again is really cool. And that's the kind of insight that only comes with like practice and knowing how to play a deck. And I believe you have put something together for all the people out there in the world to check out. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. So this list you see in front of you is the basis of my first ever article for the Card Guys Patreon. It is a full Prism primer, deck breakdown, and matchup guide that should be available at the time of this video's release, I think. Um, So guys, check it out. The list itself here you can see will be publicly available. It's got all the Talishar buttons for all the individual heroes on it as well. But if you want the individual match notes and guides and everything, or just want to learn a little bit more and get a little more insight into the deck, I'd love for you to come and check it out. I did a lot of work and I'm really proud of it.
Absolutely. I personally am stoked to read and study it myself because as someone who used to be a very big fan of Prism and still am, I've kind of fallen out of practice. So this is just the kind of thing to catch me up to speed and to get me kind of in my paces with Prism. I'm scrolling through it right now and looking at your 3 playable Fableds, which is
Yeah.
just crazy.
What a world this game has come to. It's very funny to have all of them and say like, yep, these are actually good choices for the deck. There
Hmm.
there are not other cards that do these jobs better, um, or even as good.
You know,
At the same time, I hope it doesn't continue. We don't just keep racking up the fables that we need to play.
I agree with you. I think less playable Fableds is a good thing. It's funny, Library of Solana. like even though it's a light card, is really only playable by Prism in my opinion, and moreover
Yeah,
probably only New Age Prism as well. So it is funny that like
probably.
Library of Solana, if you're a hero who cares about yellow cards, reads is very, very playable, but it is so fringe. It's really only playable in that one version of Prism, and I don't even think you play it in every matchup, correct?
No, not remotely. We play it in the aura matchups for when we can kind of get it out early and use it as a just a big board piece that a lot of decks just can't clear at all.
Hmm.
But I've had more than one game where I go to a turn and see that library, like, well, I need to do something else. I can't use this. Into Soul with Halo, you go.
Which
It's a
that's
light
another
card. It
nice
works.
thing about it. Sometimes when you don't need it, it's like, well, at least I can do something with it. But that's
Yeah, pinch
great.
it,
That's
block with it. Who cares? We got other uses.
absolutely. No, that's all great stuff, and I love seeing these angelic wraths as well. Like the more this deck list has evolved over time, I feel like you've kind of fine tuned it more and more. I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where Figment of what's the dominate one called again?
Figment of Tenacity.
I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where Figment of Tenacity is necessary, but it seems like you've got it pretty well tuned the way you like it.
It's not necessary. It's not bad, is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing. And if there ever comes a day where Figment of Judgment is not just a house into certain matchups, then absolutely we would bring Tenacity instead as the seventh Figment.
it's a great
Um,
point actually. Because if Judgment isn't doing its work, then
mhm.
Dominate on a stick ain't so bad.
No, it's fine. It's just very awkward, and I talk about this in the primer a bit. The timing for how Tenacity's effect lines up with the kind of turn cycles you want to take usually is not ideal.
Okay.
Um, and of course, the flip side, well, it's nice to get turn zero. It's nice sort of high roll in certain cases where it can line up, but it's very inconsistent, and I'd rather have um, just the specific tool to use into certain matchups.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, taking all that into account, everybody check out the primer if you're so inclined. Let's dive into your rounds, I guess. Let's talk about how your tournament went.
Yeah. So U.S. Nationals, of course, we've been prepping as much as we possibly could, given how little time we had with the release of High Seas, and a lot of time was put into limited prep specifically. So Prism bringing it was a comfort pick for me. I made some adjustments to the deck from my Pro Tour London list to account for the changing meta. We got several heroes, living legend in between those times. Um, uh, and the release of a couple new cards that made its way into the deck here as well. So I'm feeling pretty good about things. I mainly want to dodge the Florians, or kind of the most difficult matchup I expect is those.
Hmm.
Um, so we're here to dodge Florians as long as we can. Um, round one gets called. I sit down, and I'm across from Rhea Adams, very well-known player, known Prism player in the past too, as well.
Absolutely.
I consider her a friend at these events. I was very sad to have to play her round one. Um, Not on Prism today though. Today she was on Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, which is a pretty good matchup for Prism. Um, I lost the die roll, mind you, which die roll can be very important in these it's a pretty aggressive matchup from both of us. She wants to
Hmm.
disrupt me, keep me off my big turns. I just want to jam heralds because she can't block them very effectively usually.
Hmm.
Um, she wins the die roll, goes Arsenal Pass. I fortunately have a double War Tune hand just in
Mm.
my opener that I get to fire back with an Angelic Wrath even to get over the top of the first
Ooh
one. So
la
it was an
la.
absolutely perfect opener, brutal start, everything I could have wanted. Um, the first couple turns of the game go pretty heavily in my favor. She does take a bunch to keep an extremely powerful hand. It goes like four wide and presents three different pieces of disruption, and I have to give some cards on it. But it wasn't quite enough to bring it. At the end of the turn, I think I'm only a little bit under her life total, and I still have cards left to fire back with. So I do end up taking that game.
Mm.
Uh, so great start
Great start.
off at the beginning. Uh, Round two, I get paired against Mr. Will Earnhardt, actually a player that I know. I had run into him in the past because over the winter holidays, I visited family and just went to a couple local armories there. And this guy was at one of them. He was a local to my family, as it
Hmm.
turns out.
That's funny.
Um, yeah. Back then, I was kind of messing around with Acilio, and he was on Arachne Huntsman. Today, I was back on my Prism, and he was on a different assassin, New. Uh, Another matchup that's generally quite good for Prism. I talk about this one pretty extensively, and we'll talk about it a lot more later because it's not the last time we'll see New in this
That's right.
tournament. Um, Matchup again, it's a very swingy matchup, and this one kind of showed that he was ahead for most of it. Um, and my pivot that I got to take with an Arclight was not fully ideal. What kind of got me over the finish line was a slightly awkward draw from him, and the fact that I had a merciful retribution that he had decided to ignore for a few turns got me that bit of extra value I needed.
Absolutely.
It is one that New can ignore, depending on the list and how things are running out, but it is still quite potent, even without like a bunch of poppers flying all over the place. So we managed to take that one down. I think, yeah, I was still like not dead. I wasn't like winning the game at 1 or anything, but it felt pretty close at the end.
Hmm.
Um, Third round, I get the matchup that I always seem to manage to find at these tournaments, which was a Kano. Uh, we are Kano's worst matchup. Kano is our best matchup.
That's right.
This was against Patrick Foley. Great sport about it. Played it as well as I think anyone could have. Uh, it was kind of a brutal run out, though. I think he tried to go for his combo early to pressure it, but I didn't really give him an opening, and he ended up trying to take a line with a potion of deja vu off the top that he ended up not having enough resources for. So I was
Mm.
able to fully cover up his wildfire combo, still be swinging back, and it was just kind of over from there. That's the matchup sometimes.
And is your Halo still being used for the spell void in that matchup?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. There are very, very rare scenarios where it is correct to Halo for that Figment of Judgment to
Hmm.
try and force the Kano to misorder their combo sequences.
Gotcha.
Um, that is usually bait, though. It's a more cute play than it is good. The Spell Void alongside all your other ward is usually much, much more important.
I see. I see.
Yeah. So 3-0. Great start. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Round 4, I get paired into Joseph McKinley, who
Hmm.
is also on Prism.
Ooh,
There
the
were a bunch of us
mirror.
at this event, as it turns out. She was a reasonably popular deck. Um, and this matchup goes very wrong very, very fast. Uh, it's an illusionist mirror, so tempo is everything, and going first is like a 20% swing in
Hmm.
the favor. And he wins the die roll, is able to go first. My opening hand has like 3 no blocks in it, so I'm just taking a bunch of damage. He's getting a soul,
Oof.
he's getting a figment, he gets an angel flipped, and his arsenal. He gets everything he wants. My one consolation is that I managed to hit off of a light of soul that I pitched into my footsteps,
Okay.
and I get my own angel established at the end of the turn. Okay, so it's theoretically it's something I can fire back with to start to clear his ward, and then go in with my heralds. If I had any, I draw up my actual first hand, and there are no heralds in it,
Oh
no attacks I
no.
can use. Um, it has an Arclight Sentinel in it, so I just play that to mulligan and pass. The other hand up, this hand has some heralds in it. They're not great heralds, but they're there. What it's lacking are yellows to give said heralds go again.
Oh, it's just a comedy of errors.
Yeah, and this actually continues for another turn. I clear his angel, draw new hand, still no yellows I can use,
Hmm.
and it's kind of over at that point. Like it really, really is. I've lost my ward protection. I Using Halo first in that matchup is so devastating because of
Hmm.
the threat it presents for keeping you from attacking into other people's angels.
Hmm.
But I have to use it to try and get something going to get a Soraya turn to get tempo back on board. He just takes it, pivots it right back, and I lose that game pretty hard.
Hmm.
Uh,
Sounds like you not a lot of favors happening for you in that one. That's bound to happen.
yeah, it was unfortunate. I don't think there was much I could have done with it, honestly. I think there
Hmm.
was like instead of playing the Arclight on my first turn, there was a slightly different line I could have taken.
Hmm.
It would not have mattered
Okay.
the way things turned out. Like,
Yeah.
not a chance. Um, okay, so 3-1 at this point. It's fine. These losses happen. Um, Round 5, final round of Classic Constructed. I get paired against Benjamin Alaniz. The hero, the soldier, the one of Max in the whole
Oh,
tournament.
wow.
Max the Hive Nitro.
And doing it pretty well at this point.
Doing pretty well off the back of getting paired into Prisms, as it
I
turns out.
see.
Yeah, apparently he'd gotten paired into like at least 2 others before me and had beaten them both. He was also 3-1, of course. Yeah, Max can be a very tough matchup for Prism. Mech in general, they get to run a lot of natural poppers. Max especially because they're also running things like Big Berthas,
That's right.
on top of the usual, maximum velocity throttle stuff. So this was one I had to kind of buckle in and play my heart out for.
Hmm.
Um, and he gets a mechanoid going, using
Hmm.
all his equipment, getting some hyperdrivers. I've been playing relatively tempo, doing some defensive, doing some blocking. And luckily for me, it is after he gets his mechanoid that my soul shields start cropping up. So I'm able to very effectively start blocking and just running out the clock on this mechanoid and its counters. At a certain point, he realizes he's just not getting enough damage through because, of course, they don't have the extra action points to just kill you with high octane like they used to.
That's
I
right.
would say the matchup was extremely unfavored back then. Now it's just merely unfavored.
Hmm.
So he starts trying to take setup turns, but at this point, if he takes a setup turn, I get to fire back and threaten to get more ward to protect myself, which is exactly what happens. And we reach a point towards the end where I'm a little low. He's having to take a lot more damage to go lower, even with a little bit of block value. The block value the mechanoid gets him. Um, so he ends up fatiguing out at the end of the game and not
Wow.
able to kill me. Yeah, it's not common that happens, but against mech, it's absolutely something we look for when we can get it.
It's one of those secondary win conditions that like doesn't always
Mhm.
happen, but when you have the opportunity and it's the right choice, take it.
Yeah, it's entirely dependent on us getting our hits in and being able to convert our non-blocking cards into blocking with our angels and ward.
Great point. Great point.
Uh, okay, so 4-1 coming out of Classic Instructed. Great. Can't complain about that, especially given the loss was kind of out of our hands.
Yeah, yeah.
We sit down for the draft, the end of the day. And for this draft, I said we did a lot of limited practice for it. In particular, we'd actually I'd found some success by drafting a very aggressive puffin list
Mm,
using the Spitfire weapon. Something I felt was kind of being overlooked in a lot of places.
absolutely.
Um, so I sit down, pack one, open it up. The only mech card in the pack is a red sky skimmer. So I'm like, well, guess we can send a real strong signal with this, can't we? The pack is otherwise pretty weak, so we take it and we're locked in from the back. I didn't set out to force that hero, but the opportunity presented itself and I took it. Unfortunately, some other people also took it.
I see.
Um, it turns out that, as I figured out during the second pack, when I sent 2 mech cards around and neither of them came back, there were 2 other puffins in the pod. One of them directly to my right.
Ah.
Uh, I really hadn't gotten the sense of it from pack one. It seemed like they pivoted onto her kind of late.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was a 3 of, and I was going to be pretty heavily cut off in the third pack. Instead, we had some very, very strong Gravy Bones decks coming
Hmm.
out with 2 of Gravy. So I draft a decent to good version of the aggressive Puffin deck. Not nearly as good as I would have wanted, though, and as I was hoping for, given how early I jumped onto it.
Still on Spitfire, or were you forced to run
Spitfire, still
Blunderbuss?
on
Still on
Spitfire.
Spitfire. Okay, very good.
Yeah, it was exactly still had enough go again in Cog generation for me to feel like it was worth it, and not enough of the kind of pirate attacks and things that work on curve with Blunderbuss.
Hmm. Hmm.
You really want like the 4 cost big ships like the Bark and the HMSs, as well as like the 1 for 5s work really well with Blunderbuss, and I didn't
Gotcha.
have those.
Okay.
So first round get paired into the person directly across from me, who was indeed the other Puffin, who was in like the good Puffin seat at that
Hmm.
point. This was Edward Schronberg, uh, and we get going. I believe I win the die roll, which is the only reason I'm ahead at all early on in this game, because his deck is definitely stronger than mine, I think. I'm dealing some damage. He's taking it to send back more damage. I'm trying to block a little. This is a very, very quick game because we're both playing very aggressively. Um, because I managed to get one big hit on and drop him to like, uh, let's see if I get this right. Yeah. So I get one hit on, take some damage. Another hit on, drop him to like 7. Take more damage, go to 4. Like, it's like he's made up his tempo very quickly here. But
Hmm.
I'm able to do this because um, I have a mutiny on the, oh god, which one? I forget. I always mix up the names of these. It's the mutiny that gives overpower if you spend
The
2.
overpower one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the overpower one. So between that and 2 other buffs, I'm able to send my Spitfire for 11 overpower and close the game. Kind of scammed him out of that one,
It's
but
pretty good.
that's overpower sometimes. Yeah. So get away with that one against what I think was definitely a better deck than mine. Round 2, we get paired into Tao Tao. Very, very well known, especially lately for kind of pioneering and bringing to the forefront the dagger-based Arachne marionette lists.
Hmm.
He was one of our 2 of gravies. He seemed like he had a really good deck, and mine kind of craps out on me in this
Mm.
one. He gets off to an early start, gets some allies, and my hands are not drawing the go again that is in the
Hmm.
deck. So my turns are kill an ally, pass. Kill an ally, pass. I'm not getting gold. I'm not getting to make my cogs and do my thing.
Mm.
And I just start going down, taking a lot of damage to try and do this. Because my deck also, because I was getting cut off from all the next stuff, pretty 2-block heavy as well. Which is not always a problem if they're the galvanized cards and you have cogs. I didn't because I'd been clearing allies. So I lose this one pretty hard. I think at one point, he takes a bunch of damage just to keep a hand that kills me. So that's the only reason the
Gotcha.
life totals looked as close as they did. That
Gotcha.
happens.
Gotcha.
And okay, I'm fine with it. Again, I don't think there was a way for me to have won this particular game. But again, maybe there's some more ideal things I could have done. I don't think it would have mattered in the end.
Probably not, but that's all
Always
right
do want to
though.
look for these, of course, but we always want to review our games, our wins, and our losses. But this one, again, I wasn't going to beat myself up too badly about.
Hmm.
So final round of draft, we are X2. We are locked for day 2 already because we only needed the 5 wins, which we got in the first round of draft.
Hmm.
And I got paired into Pierre Nicolas Perrin,
Mm.
who was on a Marlin deck.
Interesting.
First one of these we'd run into. And this one, my deck does function as it's supposed to. I'm drawing the cards, getting the go again, sending the attacks. And he's kind of blocking it, is trying to filter out his gold to try and find some more action. But in the end, I'm able to, send like a 4-wide turn that even if he could have fully blocked it out on that turn, would have taken everything from him, couldn't have done anything on the crackback, and my next turn almost certainly would have been lethal.
Mm.
So we got there, still managed to finish the day at X and 2. Feeling pretty good. I think after this was the day we all went and was this one of the days we went out for dinner? I can't even remember the order of some of
This
things now.
might have been when we got the Italian.
Right. This was okay. This is, yeah, you guys got Italian. I was still catching up and doing some other things. So I was kind of just running around. I think I got some tacos somewhere.
Okay, yeah.
With the Georgia folks. It was all good. Okay. So come back for day 2, second draft round. And I know going in that I'm going to be drafting across from and getting paired into another guy I know, Mr. Barrett Goss, known from
Mm.
Discord, another known Prism contributor and enjoyer. So very sad to get paired into the next best thing to a teammate. Uh, but sit down to do the draft. Again, I don't like forcing. I wasn't here to try and force the Puffin deck. And this time around, I am very much staying more open in a weird way.
Mm.
I'm taking class cards, but I'm kind of just taking the best class cards. I think I start on like a Swift Shot from Marlin. Then I take like a Gravy card, and I'm seeing some Puffin cards and some generics. And I'm prioritizing the generic, more go again cards. Things like Red Chart the Course. I get a Ravenous Rabble go over to me pretty early on, I think. Um, and it's I'm having difficulty finding my seat in this one.
Mm.
But I do, especially towards the end of the pack, start to seeing a lot of gravy stuff coming around. So I start moving in on that. By the end of the first pack, I'm pretty sure I'm gravy, but I'm not fully committed to it. Second pack starts up, and now we're getting gravy stuff. Like we're seeing a lot of good allies coming. So I think I get like a pick 3 limpet or something.
Oh wow! So you were still relatively open going to pack two, or were you leaning pretty gravy?
Well, so I'd taken a bunch of generics. I was definitely leaving gravy. From
Okay.
what I saw in the first pack, it looked like gravy was open and like there wasn't like a lot of room for other people to pivot onto it,
Okay.
given that I was taking some of those cards. And especially once I saw that limpet start coming in the pack, yeah, there is no one over there who is playing Gravy Bones. I am good to go in on this. Now the problem with my pack one, the issue, is that because I was taking like all these good red cards from all over the place, I had one blue coming out of the first pack.
Mm.
Blues are very important in this format. It's Mist Veil like in a way.
Hmm.
So this pack though, I'm in on Grave, so I start taking the blue enable. I start taking the allies, the blues, the good cards there. Have a very, very strong second pack. And I come out with like 7 blues. I'm keeping track of these for a reason here. Uh, because, and then of course we can tell there's definitely only one other Gravy at the table right now. Third pack starts up and I'm looking, okay, I've got most of my equipment. I've got a good set of allies, got some power cards. What do I need? I need my last equipment card, and I need a few more blues. I want to get like 5 out of this pack, I think. So open my first pack. There's a really cool card. There is a foil cog in the machine there. Can't take that, of course, because we're pure playing to win, not to rare draft.
That's right.
But what is not in this pack is a blue that I can use.
Oh no.
So I think I just like take a reasonable red card, ship it. Next pack. There's not a blue I can use. It does have I think my arm piece in there, the gravy arms. So
That's
I
pretty
take
good.
that and ship it. Third pack. Can't remember if it was this one or the next one, but it definitely took me a while to find my first blue, and it was a good one. It was a blue tipple. I remember that.
Okay, okay.
So I managed to get that one, but I'm still packs are coming, and there's not blues I can take.
Mm.
And that's when I realized, yeah, I think this is just a blue light pack, and other people are also needing them, especially the other grave who's probably relatively close to me on that side.
Hmm.
I'm getting cut off from them. So I take at this point literally any blue I can find, even
Hmm.
the bad ones. Just we need them for the pitch and for like high tide stuff. Um, but despite my best efforts, I end the draft with only 10 blues in the deck. I only got
Okay.
3 out of the final pack.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So a little
Uh,
light, not terribly so, but a little light.
it's definitely light. The one saving grace is that I think at the end of pack 2, I had a forced pick bandana, the
Okay.
hat that lets you crack it, discard a card to put a blue from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck. It
Mm.
is not a value pick, but it becomes very important to me to recycle my best blue enabler, which is an Avascu, which I got during pretty early on in the second pack.
Absolutely.
Um, so we're going in. We understand this is our pain point. Our blues are an issue. We have to leverage them as hard as we possibly can. Because outside of that, our deck is great. We've got a lot of really good allies. We've got some good power cards and enablers for them. It's just this deck can brick if it is drawn in the wrong way.
Hmm.
Okay, so sit down across from Barrett. He is on a Red Manta Marlin deck. And as when he flips over his equipment, he has all of the nimblism stuff. So he is
Mm.
prepared to go fast. We can see right out the gate. And over the course of the game, yes, he plays several red nimblisms. He plays some like the Jack B cards.
Mm.
He unfortunately draws his red Nimby, out of order with the nimblisms. He's already played them by the time he finds it.
Mm.
This is a game that goes uh, pretty swiftly. I'm trying to block as best I can, keep him off of things, and I barely managed to squeak over the line with it was like saving my rigor mortis until I could send it to start presenting lethal.
Mm.
This is how I recall that one going. So it was a very close game, just like a little thing different here or there. If he gotten like better use out of his quick clicks, for example, with the Nimby, and we would have been in trouble for sure. But squeak by that one. And I think this, like coming out of the game, was like, this is the deck I was scared of, right? This super aggressive deck that's going to not let me do my thing and get value out of all my allies.
Hmm.
Uh, and I got lucky that my blues didn't come back to haunt me. Of course, over the course of this, I get a look at Peter Budnicek, the other gravy in my draft pod, and his deck looks crazy. He's also got good allies, and he's got the Swabbies. I don't have the Swabbies. He's got the Swabbies.
Oh no.
And he's also got Blood in the Water, the majestic defense reaction.
Mm.
So I'm like, well, I better hope that I hope I'm facing him in finals, because we're gonna have some trouble with this one in
Mm-hmm.
a mirror. Um, Fortunately, my deck again, because I was prioritizing the go again, I think I would have had an edge into him
Mm.
because of that, just for clearing out the allies. Um, we never get to find out though, because round two I don't get paired into him. I get paired into Daniel Rutkowski from
Mm.
the Runaways. He was on a Cannon Marlin build, and this game definitely does go longer. I'm able to build up a lot of gold and end up cracking it all on like 5 gold or something on one turn
Oh
to
wow.
cycle through my deck to find the Avastji that I stuck back on the bottom with the bandana earlier. Get some allies out, swing a bunch of damage, force him to go down low, and then within those cards that I pitched is my HMS Overpower ship. So I just get
Mm.
to take my pitch, stack back together, and make sure the next hand I draw back up has the Overpower for lethal.
Very good.
That happens. Yeah, worked exactly as we drew it up. So look over from that, and I see that Peter has lost. He talked to me later about this. He apparently made just like one mistake in a fatigue end game,
Mm.
um, and it let the other guy clear his final ally and win the game.
Mm.
So that means in my final round, I'm not playing as Peter like I thought I would be, but against Gary Gold on Puffin, on a blunderbuss Puffin. I know as well because I saw it. And this game is very apparent. He's prepared to kill my allies and send another attack phase. Like blunderbuss an ally, send an attack phase, or send an attack phase and arsenal, right? Or send an attack to clear an ally and arsenal. Um, this game goes pretty long and grindy, and I end up, I use the bandana to recycle back the Avastji into the stack, and I have to go through every single ally in my deck
Oh wow.
to get there. And it gets to a point in the end game where I was trying to remember if I had stacked the Avastji in the same turn as I pitched my last ally, my Chowder, or if it was the turn after. And I couldn't quite remember. I was pretty sure it was the same turn, so it would be above it in the stack. And therefore, when I cracked another gold, that would be what I draw. And I was right, which meant that the Chowder is now on top. I can send my Restless Bones for 6 go again, just flip it off the top without having to look at it. Um, get go again, go wide on the final turn, and just barely get in for lethal.
Wow.
Yeah, with like I said, my deck had 6 allies in it. Um, Chowder was on the board, uh, sort of on that final turn. If he had cleared it, then I would have had still a little bit of damage left in my deck, but it would have been real tough from there.
Very good.
So we got a 3-0 in the draft pot, 5-1 in limited overall. I felt pretty. I think my deck was good, but I definitely had to. Some things had to go right for that to happen. 100%. This is why you don't delay on drafting blues, kids.
Absolutely. It
Okay.
worked out, but it was risky.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So we're back to classic constructed. We got 4 more rounds for today, and I'm definitely live for top 8 as long as I don't lose too early.
Mhm.
It was like a over 500 person nationals, so almost all of the X3s are gonna make it in, but only if you lose like the final round or like the final two, like in the last 2 rounds or something.
Mhm.
Um, so sit down across from another person I know, another known Prism player and enjoyer, Austin Summers.
Mm.
Uh,
Yes, yes.
Another player who is also not on Prism for this tournament. He's picked up Gravy Bones, the talk
Mm.
of the town, the new hotness, and a hero which, despite my preparation efforts, I had not really gotten any games into. Um, Turns out that when a matchup is as rumored to be as favored as the Prism into Gravy matchup is, people on just random queues will run away rather than fight you. Happened a number of times to me. Uh, but I did have at least 1 or 2 reps thanks to the team who had brought Gravy Bones themselves, although a somewhat different list than it ended up with Austin used and the other one that made it into the top 8. Um, Again, super interesting matchup, way deeper and closer than a lot of people think it is. I write a fair bit about it in the primer. We'll be seeing plenty of that moving forward as the list develops and as the counterplay in that matchup develops. There's question over what the best chess piece is into Gravy.
Mm.
What what our strategy should be in terms of like sending the first angel at his ally or at his face to try and like catch a no blocks or get through. It's going to be a lot of work going forward, especially because Gravy has been doing well, not just at nationals. We've seen him do pretty cool things at some of the other events since then.
Absolutely.
For myself, I was on Vestige into him. I liked being able to jam out my auras after hitting an ally, especially getting a ton of value off of Herald of Erudition into an ally. Um, but this matchup goes close, incredibly close. It's a win at one life kind of game.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's sending aggression at my face, trying to punish me for spending so much damage effectively to clear out the allies. The thing that kind of goes right for me is that I'm able to block out a naked gold baited hook that he sends one of his allies at me for, which by denying him because that's going to break the hook because he hadn't made gold on that turn. Which means that as the game progresses, he has very little access to gold to filter out those allies from his hand and the non-blocks. So when we finally do get to the end and I am sending my attack at him, his hand has 3 allies and he can't do anything to try and find just a little bit more blocking out of it.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I do manage to squeak by at the end there.
That's funny because, like you said, this is a matchup that's been heavily rumored to be very Prism favored, and it almost did you a disservice because that matchup was very, very close. A lesser player might have just been like, "Ah, it'll be fine," and got caught with their pants down.
Yeah, I'm a pessimist at heart. I think you have to be to play Prism sometimes because
Absolutely.
of how polarizing her mechanics are. So I try to give as much respect to everything. Like even the Kanos. I've lost to Kano before, so
Oh
like
yeah, it's possible.
I don't think I am ever more locked into a matchup than I am against a Kano because like it's not gonna happen this time. I'm not gonna let it happen again.
Now tell me about Gravy. I'm sure you covered this more in the primer, but are there moments where you do ignore the allies, or are you pretty committed to always throwing a herald at the ally to clear that board?
So under my current planning, we are usually sending our first herald at the ally to try and get vestige on. We pretty much always want to be clearing them because their allies are a large part of how they are able to block out our heralds and then still send pressure and clear our stuff.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so I think we just lose too much value by leaving them alone in most cases.
Okay.
Um, Now, with that said, there are a few interesting things we can do about the allies. Namely, Rigor Mortis being a 1 health ally becomes very vulnerable to the Figment of Ravages, one arcane
Yes.
that can go to any target.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always the case that we need to send an Herald into the ally. In fact, most of the time we'd rather be sending our angels to clear their allies.
Good
But
point.
it can be tough to start the turn on that, especially if we're not clearing out their board. So we'll see more
Absolutely.
as we develop on that matchup. But currently, yes, I think we want to be clearing the board
That
almost
makes a
every
lot
turn.
of sense. That's reminiscent of the Dromai Prism matchup
Yeah,
days of old. All right,
yeah.
cool.
Well, Draw My Prism, they didn't have the inbuilt ways to break out of an Arclight Sentinel like Gravy does.
That's true.
So there was a very different dimension to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so managed to walk with that one. Next round, I get paired against a name we'll be seeing again later, Bird Cabrera, who was on new, second new of the weekend. Yeah, so I played one. I know what my plan into new is, uh, and this game goes about how I normally expect the new games to go. Gonna try and block my first herald, send a little disruption. I'll like footsteps or dagger swing to make sure that I'm not getting beaten up by levels enlightenments or like persuasive prognosis for 2 go again or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but eventually I'm able to find a spot to take a pretty good pivot, take over the board. Um, And it was interesting that she was running a one of Midas touch to get at angels behind an Arclight Sentinel. I got a little lucky. She did not draw it until a little bit after my combo turn, after Sarai had already been dealt with. So she basically used it as a 1 for 4 go again to clear an angel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she also again had another awkward turn. I think she drew like 2 or 3 codexes in one hand or something at one point. But we had our library going. We had all our stuff rolling. Able to take that one pretty effectively.
Okay.
And then we get to our winning in at this point because we are still X2. If we win this next round, we are for sure locked for top 8. It's given how early my day 1 losses were, I'm expecting that if I lose this round, I will probably bubble out.
Hmm.
So we want to win this one, and we're paired into Randy Davis, a guy I know. I've played him actually a number of times. He's pretty local to the Georgia, Alabama area.
Okay.
Florian player. Played him on Florian a number of times. And this game is on stream. You can watch it. You can watch me make quite a few suboptimal play decisions in that game. That said, the deck is humming. Everything is lining up. We're hitting, I think I hit Light of Soul twice early
Oof.
on in the game, and they both like get the Angel into Soul.
Always good.
Early good start to the game. I get Library down, although he does actually manage to clear the Library a few turns later, but I'm still able to take a pivot. Maybe one a little earlier than I needed to because it didn't have an Arclight Sentinel, but it was double Genesis, which I felt was still pretty good.
Yeah.
And we're able to still build up and ride it out from there. This is also, I think, it's not the first time I use it alternative, of course, but the game on stream of the new Fable, Riches of Trouble Donnie. I don't use it as effectively as I could have that game. It ends up just the goal the first one makes ends up just cycling out when I redraw it again later. There were definitely some times earlier in the game where I could have used it for much more effect. It's just such a flexible and does so many little things for the deck that it's sometimes hard to remember. Oh yeah, I can use this here and get another shot at a library draw or filtering out and maybe getting another herald on this turn or something. So lot of good stuff there. And as you mentioned earlier, this is the game where I've got just so much soul that game. I'm able to, thanks to the double Genesis, I'm able to use the Avalon to recycle the Erudition back in the deck. A couple turns later, I'm able to force through a Herald, get the Erudition, and at that point, he scoops it up because if we're dealing another Erudition turn and drawing more cards, it's kind of over at that point.
And very well played. That was a fun one to watch. I remember watching that on my phone while I was eating dinner. It was awesome. Or not dinner, I think I was having lunch, but yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Kevin Murphy's channel on YouTube, Smurf Fab, where we've recorded VOD reviews of my stream games. That the review of this particular game is already up. And like I said, there were a lot of things I could have done better, and we talk about it a great deal. And then I write a fair bit about this matchup in particular in the primer, because we're going to be seeing Florian for quite some time to come, I think.
I agree.
All right. But yes, this means I think we're locked for top 8. Pretty darn sure we're locked for top 8 at this point.
Yep.
And we just have one final round to play into the other talk of the town for this weekend, Verdance. New Verdance list. I'm playing into Majin Bay. He's one of the 2 undefeated players coming out of day 1, and still I think only had 1 loss in day 2 at this point.
Oh wow.
So he was like the locked in number 1 seed. I think Lucas, the other Verdance player, was still above me, but they'd already played each other, so I get paired into Majin. And this Verdance used to be a lot easier for Prism. It's not just the fact that they got this new Burn Bear card as an unconditional kind of popper and just big source of arcane damage, but also the way that we saw with their list, they've adapted and developed into this attack action heavier kind of Bull-lander style decks that want to send big attacks, play good math, and then close the game with arcane.
Yes. Which means more poppers.
Yeah, it means a lot more poppers. They still don't love seeing Spectre, so I'm still planning to jam a lot of auras into him. However, Verdance has the unique ability in these kinds of matchups to deny my combo turn in pretty much entirely by Storm Stridersing one of their arcane spells that target anything, namely Pulsing Aether Life. If I go for my Soraya attack on the combo turn, they can just Storm Striders, Pulsing Aether, kill the Soraya in response to the attack. I don't get the draw, I don't get go again, and at best we can develop like 1 Spectra on that turn, which is what we end up doing. The game again starts off pretty well. We get the early library, which is getting us a lot of cards. Part of why I'm able to get away with this. And when I do go for the combo, I'm still able to do it with a Genesis in play. And luckily for me, although he does kill the Soraya, and if he didn't kill the Soraya, there would have been Arclight coming afterwards. Um, he is not able to send an attack afterwards to clear the Genesis.
Mm.
So we're able to snowball. I had that Arclight in Arsenal at that point, do some stuff, get some more Rs, play the Arclight, and now we're snowballing. And I wind up ending the game with something like 8 Spectral Shields in play.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's another pretty long one that we had a crowd of people around for, but it about everything that can go right did. The only thing that could have gone better is if he just didn't have the arcane spell on the combo
That's
track. But we never accept it. We always expect them to have it there.
That's right.
Not just because they have so many of them, but because if there's one in their graveyard, they will absolutely Plume of Evergrowth it back to do exactly that play.
Mm.
But well, he had one earlier. He was forced to decompose it, so he didn't have one at the time.
So you beat Majin's Verdance. That's pretty
I
impressive.
beat Majin's Verdance, yes.
I believe he had a good finish in that tournament.
Yeah, just maybe, just a little bit. Now, shouts off to him. He was a great guy to play against.
Oh yeah.
And if I couldn't win the whole tournament, I am so glad that he did. I think he deserved. He's done a lot for the community.
He's just one of the coolest, nicest guys. So definitely someone to cheer for. I'd rather cheer for you, but someone to cheer for.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see more out of him. That said, next time we play against, if we're playing in top 8, I will be taking him down.
Absolutely. So all right, so you're X and 2 over the whole course of the tournament. We are now not only locked for top 8, but we're probably locked for what, 3rd seed, something like that.
Yeah, I am the 3rd seed for sure. Like I said, Majin and Lucas were the only ones above me at that point, and they remain so. Oh, sorry, no, excuse me. Majin and Lucas were above me. Lucas lost the final round, so I actually wound up as the 2nd seed.
Ah, so even better. Okay.
Yes. And then this night, we would go out for food afterwards.
This is when we went and had Bon Mi.
Yes, I believe so. Making sure I'm not getting my no. You know what? Actually, I think we got our nights off a little bit. It was after day 1 we got the mommy. This is the night we went and got dim sum.
Oh, that's right. This is when we got
the whole
dim
taco
sum.
and Italian thing was the Thursday before. Okay, so
mm-hmm.
we're running a little bit. At the end of day 1, team went out to Hot Pot and KBBQ and sushi restaurant.
That's right.
Great time, a lot of cool things. And yeah, it was just great food. I got to try the ube ice cream at the end of the meal.
Yes, that's right.
That was awesome. Like I'd understand ahead of time that it was going to be like actual ice cream and sweet, not taste, like potatoes or something. Because ube is, as Japanese, very purple sweet potato. It was great. It was like I was stuffed that meal because it was an all you can eat kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
We found room. We found room for that.
I remember being so full on all the hot pot and sushi, and then the server was like, "You want ice cream?" I was like, "Yeah, I could make room for that."
Yeah. So that was the first night. This night we go out for dim sum. I've never been out to dim sum before, but Josh Lau, Hong Kong native, and he had recommended this place and basically directed the whole experience.
That's right.
He was the one with the menu. He ordered all the things. Like, these are the classic dim sum things and the ones that aren't too weird for Americans. So we tried a lot of it. It was one of the best meals I've ever had. Honestly.
It was pretty excellent. The soft shell crab, I remember really enjoying that.
Yeah, I did not know I liked soft shell crab that much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The what else was very good? Basically everything we had was very tasty.
Yeah.
Some of the things were a little weird, but hey, it was all about the experience. Josh was our Sherpa into this new dining experience.
A fan of the beef fried rice.
Oh yeah, I loved the beef fried rice. That was so good. And then that fried tofu, was it? I think that was very good as well.
Some fried tofu.
Yep,
that's a good thing.
It was a good time.
Spare ribs, like lobster roll kind of things.
The lobster roll.
A lot of great stuff. And also got to finish off with some classic desserts there as well. These little custard dumpling things, and
which were very tasty. A little weird, but very, very tasty.
Those were good. Those were good. Not a fan of the egg tart as much, but it was fine.
Yeah. And then I really enjoyed the the boba tea draft we had afterwards. That was an
Yep.
experience.
Yeah. There's a video on the channel, a bunch of clips that Josh has taken over a bunch of tournaments. The Boba Tea draft is on that one.
That's right.
I promise you it wasn't rigged. We didn't rig it so that I would be the first drafter. No special treatment there. It just happened.
It was all a very happy accident for me. I'm very new to boba tea, so I wasn't sure what to expect, and then I got the version of the drink that's basically just a mango smoothie, and I loved
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah. I've had Boba a couple times now. I'm okay with it. I think I've decided that I'm actually not as huge a fan
Hmm.
of like the milk tea ones, which is is like
Okay,
the main
okay.
thing with boba. I think I would prefer kind of the more fruitier ones.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that.
Okay. So, we're in top eight. We are second seed, and we're getting to play. We know this ahead of time against Bird Cabrera,
That's right.
our new opponent from day two. Um, and we're able to see the lists, deck lists online, get a feel for the bracket layout. Um, that night we go in. I do a few rounds into her. I'm already kind of know what to expect. I think I know what to expect. So do a few rounds of practice there. New as swingy as it usually is, but I also get some extra practice into Verdance because if I do beat her, I know that I am very, very likely to play Majin in the semifinals because he's playing against Randy on Verdance. Majin on Verdance playing against Randy on Florian, and that is a pretty favored matchup for Verdance. I think it was like a 93% win rate for Verdances on the weekend into Florian or something. It was, yeah,
Pretty
we
solid.
were planning on that happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but we don't actually know the order of the matches until we get there the morning of Sunday. And they tell me that after doing an interview that I'm going to be going third. Okay, so I've got some time to kill. And we're in Vegas, and what have I not gotten to do all weekend? Go to the casino.
That's right.
So in the time before my first game top eight, I go out and I play blackjack. Um, and I hit. Let me tell you right now, I maybe use up too much of my luck in this time, but I hit like 15 blackjacks in an hour or something.
Pretty good.
Which sad day at the low limit tables in Vegas. They are all now 6-5 games instead of 3-2 payout on blackjack. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But I go up some money, use it to pay for breakfast, and we're having a good time. So we do come back though for the game, sit down, and as the higher seed, I get to choose this time who goes first and second, and I choose to go second into new.
Mhm.
Again, this will be the VOD review. Will go up on Kevin's channel specifically about this game. We talk about a lot of stuff that happens, and I talk, again in the primer pretty extensively about this matchup. Although again, we'll see if New even survives this national season.
That's
It's
true.
irrelevant again. But for people who are going to play nationals, of course, she very much will be. So sit down, going second, because the idea is we want to be able to start sending heralds right away and taking cards out of her hand. If New is on like 4 or 5 cards, there's a lot she can do, and we cannot very effectively block and predict what should be happening.
Hmm.
And my hand is a hard brick.
Oof.
The hand is Angelic Wrath, Soul Shield, Passing Mirage. Um, Passing Mirage is nice, but her list is also only on 3 Command and Conquers as Popper, so it's not
Oof.
something she necessarily has to care about. And I'm on Dreamweavers as well, so it's not really something she has to care about.
Hmm.
And she just goes Arsenal Pass. I would have loved to be able to pitch one of those Angelic Wraths to play the Soul Shield turn 0 and filter out, do some things. But we don't get to. So all we can do on our turn is play the Passing Mirage, Arsenal the Soul Shield, pass, draw another hand, still no heralds. This is
Oof.
shades of my Prism mirror earlier. Just everything is starting to go wrong right out the
Mm.
gate. And it's not like she's sending a ton of damage, but she's sending surgical extractions, cards that she gets to rip apart my hand and take the good cards out, the cards that will make even bad hands function. So I'm starting to just play out my auras as instants in response to disruption to try and get her to pay attention to them and then take things out. I think I do like a Genesis on this turn plus the Soul Shield.
Hmm.
And she does clear the Genesis the next turn. I'm finally able to start firing back. And she says no blocks. And this is a big adjustment for her from our first time playing. She was a lot more defensive the first time we played through, and she made the correct adjustment that she needs to be keeping her hands to do exactly that kind of disruptive plays. And then I don't quite adequately respond to this adjustment with a change in prioritization.
Mm.
Because on a later turn, and several later turns, I have some opportunities to develop a Pierce Reality, which is an aura she does have to care about, even if she's playing aggressively. But I don't take it. I take some other lines that wind up punishing me pretty hard, and I make the big mistake of going to 0 soul just to get some extra ward on the board, which ends up punishing me pretty hard because it means I can't take my arc light pivot the turn I draw into it, and really kind of need to. So we end up doing the Prism thing, going to 1 to play an arc light, get some stuff out there, and say pass, and try and do the comeback from there. Boy, howdy, do we almost manage it.
Almost.
Yeah. So the thing about that particular line is, as I mentioned earlier, Merciful is an aura that news don't always have to care about. And I had one out there that she was ignoring again. But what it was going to do for me here was that it was going to guarantee me the soul I need to get the Soraya going so I can start trying to redevelop. That Soraya pivot gets me the great library, not really what I wanted. I wanted to be able to send more heralds to that hand, to get more figments into play so I have more ward to stop her from just killing me because I'm at 1. But we're in it. We're fighting. She has a hand. She sends some daggers. I start blocking. And there's a lot of question in this end game about when I'm supposed to give Vestige to block a Mistblade. It's really, really close, and it's kind of a toss-up whether I'm supposed to give it on this first turn. I think, having worked through it, it kind of amounts to the same number of cards either way, because either but I think it is maybe a slightly larger gamble not giving it up.
Okay.
Basically, what it ends up being is that I know I'm going to have to. Sorry, if I don't give up Vestige, I'm going to have to go down to 2 cards in hand or 1 card in arsenal. The card in my arsenal is a War Tune Herald, and the card in my hand, one of the cards in my hand, is a yellow Herald of Protection. So, start of my turn, if I Genesis the that third card, which is like an Angelic Wrath, and I draw into a yellow, if I have Vestige in play, I can send both Heralds, which is just huge value play, and it's going to get me back in this game, absolutely, because she cannot afford to let Heralds hit, because that's going to give me my Figments, that's going to let me stop her breakpoint attacks.
Absolutely.
But if I do give the Vestige, I get to keep an extra card, and I can guarantee send the 2 Heralds, but I'm down on Vestige if I have to block out more later. I think it would have been... I talk about this all with Ken, and I've kind of gone back and forth even since then on this decision. It was very, very close, though. But I don't hit... The thing is, I don't hit the yellow. So I'm not able to send the second Herald. And that means on her turn, she is able to still keep 2 cards in her arsenal. And one of those cards ends up being a Bonds of Agony. And this is the final turn of the game because I make a blunder. I just miss the fact, I miscount my resources. It just slides by me the fact that in order to... if the last card in her arsenal is a Hiss, is what I'm specifically thinking about here, because I know there's like still 2 of them left in her deck. She's only played 1 of them so far. I don't think any got pitched. A Hiss is not enough to get the bonds fully active, because although she does have her boots, they both cost a resource, and she only has the 1 resource. So I only needed to give 1 card on the bonds to stay safe from, I think, literally everything that her follow-up would be. Now, depending on the follow-up, it might still bring me to a point where I can only send the 1 Herald, like the War Tune from Arsenal, on the following turn, but I'm still very much in the game. She still has to block it, and we can still try and drag it back, especially if I get to carry over some Spectral Shields. So that misblock, 100% a mistake, and I end up getting fully punished for it and not being able to block out her follow-up, so end up losing the top 8 game. She played it extremely well. Again, huge props to her. And you know, I've gone back over it. I've thought about it a lot, and I made fewer mistakes this game than I did in the other stream game against Florian, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
But those mistakes were pretty pivotal, is what it
Hmm.
ended up being. They were larger mistakes, I guess.
Well, it sounds like a pretty darn good tournament overall, though. Top 8ing
Oh yeah,
nationals and having a crack
zero
at
complaints about it
breaking through is
whatsoever.
great. Not to mention, I believe you top 8ed another tournament before this one.
Yes,
The
I
Pro
did.
Tour London, I believe.
Mhm. Yeah, that was my first top eight in the major event. I feel uh, so incredible to get them back to back like this. I think many people who get their sort of first real win kind of feel like things went so right for me. Is this like real? Did I actually get that? It was the same for me, and now it's starting to sink in that yeah, okay, we can do this. We can keep trying to push for this. Took me 3 Pro Tours to get that top eight. Maybe it'll take me 3 top 8s to get a win. So
That's
we're
right.
gonna,
The
we're gonna
next
keep
one's
on
the
going.
good one.
Exactly.
And
Uh,
again, even that match right there was pretty darn close. You say
oh
there
yeah,
was a gamble to maybe take on the vestige or
mhm,
not, and
yeah,
then also the just misreading one resource. It's funny, one resource can
mhm,
be such a big difference at the end of the day, and
yeah,
not too shabby, pretty darn good, I'd say. And props to
yeah.
Bird, because I would say
Mhm.
I would think New would have a pretty hard time there, and it sounds like they did their
Mhm.
diligence and
Oh
they
yeah,
had a good result as a as a result.
absolutely. Yeah, I think sort of story of the weekend for especially for that game, appropriate for Vegas is we took gambles and not all of them paid out.
Well, very
Um,
good.
so
Speaking of
yeah.
gambling, so
Oh yes, weekend day
this
is not over yet because we're
day's
done.
not
Our
over
last
yet.
weekend.
Yeah. So I'm watching Andrew play this match live. I'm off to the sides, and unfortunately he loses, but we're all still just so happy for him. We congratulate him, and we've got a while before dinner this night. And what are me and Andrew going to do with our time? Well, we go gamble. We went and played craps, which I believe you didn't have a ton of experience with craps before. Or no,
I
you came in with a
I've
strategy though.
I've never played craps before, but I have learned a little bit about it, and I had some things I wanted to try that were very risky, and they did not pay out early.
It was cool to see though. I was basically doing just a regular crap strategy where you don't have to bet too much, but it still has the chance to pay a pretty penny if you get lucky. And then Andrew was doing a kind of counter strategy to what I've seen before, and I believe it worked the first time. And then you had two misses in a
Yes.
row, and then I think you got another hit later. So it kind of evened out. It was like a 50-50
Mhm.
kind of like sometimes it's good, sometimes it wasn't, but it was still
Yeah.
pretty nifty
Uh,
to see.
craps is the kind of game where you can win a lot of money really fast. You can also lose a lot really fast.
Absolutely.
Uh, so is what it is. But no, you were hitting like all your numbers. You were going crazy. I think by the time I actually joined you at the table, you were already up like several $100s.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky. I walked up to the craps table with a few $100 in my pocket, and I just got out 100 just because I was like, well, let's have $100 disappear like that. But fortunately for me, that $100 turned into 750 just like that. So craps was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it was great. We were joined after not too long by Tyler from Righteous Gaming.
That's
It
right.
was a much more experienced craps player who's kind of helping us, like sort of guide some bets. We were all having a great time. So
Absolutely.
despite some of my early losses, we were able to drag it back and still all walk away from the table up money.
Yep. And then after that, I believe we went and played some blackjack. That was pretty
We did.
fun.
We played some a weird
Yeah, we
blackjack.
did weirdo blackjack, but I like that
Yeah,
blackjack.
yeah. For those of you who don't know, who haven't like played blackjack or know much about this, there normally in blackjack, um, if the dealer goes over 21, like they either have some force plays, if the total of their cards gets too high, they automatically bust.
Mhm.
Um, and there is strategy, there's what's called basic strategy for blackjack that I've learned pretty well at this point for exactly what to do in certain scenarios. The game we were playing had slightly different rules. They
Mhm.
was the dealer will not bust if they go exactly 22. It'll be a push, and instead they will cover the cost of most of your bet doubles and split hands.
That's right.
And there's a side bet you can do, like sort of a sucker's bet, which I computed it out later. Really is a sucker's bet, despite how much fun it was and how kind of good it was to us.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you get paid based on how many doubles and splits you hit in a hand.
It was
It was a
funny
lot of
because
fun.
we basically, we're playing with house money. We're kind of goofing around, and we're playing it like it's just
Mhm.
regular blackjack. I guess the house has a slight edge because they can hit
Yeah,
22 and push, but
bigger edge
we're
than normal
we're
for
just
sure.
playing it normal. But we are taking the sucker bet because, like, anytime
Mhm.
you get to split or double, the sucker bet covers your initial bet. So it's kind of like a little insurance policy. And if you ever double twice or split twice, I guess it would be split into double because you can't double
Yeah,
twice unless you've split first, then
yeah,
you
yeah.
get paid quite handsomely, actually, to the
Mhm.
point where, like Andrew said, we were even questioning, like, is this a sucker bet? Maybe this isn't a sucker bet. He ended up doing the math afterwards and found out it was like 50-50, which isn't that bad as far as
Oh, no, no,
sucker
no, no, no,
bets
no,
go.
no.
Oh, wait.
I didn't say it was 50-50. I said it was 50% house edge.
Oh, so even worse.
Yeah, it's very bad, very
So, like,
bad.
as far as sucker bets go, that's probably like not one of the worst ones, but it's still pretty bad. So at the end of the day,
Mhm.
you probably don't take it, but it was fun, so that's all that
Yeah.
counts.
We did eventually make it back to the normal blackjack table.
And when we got to that normal blackjack table, it was kind of like a breath of fresh air. I was having
Mhm,
fun at the wild one, but then sitting down
mhm,
at normal, I was like, oh, okay, this is a lot less
mhm.
stress. This feels a lot more like normal, I guess.
Yeah. Back in my element there, and we got to end the night with a really fantastic dealer as well. It was joking around with us, making
Yeah, yeah.
fun. Like it was fantastic. I wish I could have stayed longer. Unfortunately, I was on a red eye flight out,
Mm.
so I went and grabbed dinner with some other the people I was going on the plane with, some of the Georgia folks, um, and we went to the airport. We were able to catch it. Red eye flight that got a little bit delayed as well,
Mm.
unfortunately. So ended up not getting back to my bed until like 7 in the morning.
Oof.
Um, and I made the mistake of still having work that day.
Oofa
So
toofa. Okay. That was
yeah,
probably a not the easiest day of work.
you know what, it ended up being not as bad as it could have been.
Okay.
A lot of the workload on the day ended up getting deferred. So while it was still, I still had to get up, and be ready at 10 a.m. So only got a couple hours sleep. I did get several opportunities throughout the day to like lie down and take a nap,
Oh, that's
which
good. That works out.
yeah. So overall, really, really great weekend. Um, top eight got a good cash out. Managed to go up about uh, I forget the exact number. I want to say it was like $300-ish from the casino,
Not
something
too
like that.
shabby.
You went up even more than that.
Yep, 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 yep.
Oh yeah. So great fun. And the big thing, truly, the big thing, the thing I wanted going into this tournament was the invite to Worlds, which will
Mhm.
be in Philadelphia in the US this year. So a tournament I absolutely could go to and wanted to go to. So I maybe would have gone just for like the calling and side events anyway, but getting that qualification. This will be my first world championship I get to go to. So I'm
Excellent.
very much looking forward to it. A lot of time between now and then, a whole nother set and mastery pack and all this other stuff, but
Yep.
all
I'm
good.
gonna have another crack at my invite in Singapore. I'm looking forward to that because
Mhm,
just like you said, I'll be going if I'm just playing the calling. I'll still be
mhm.
going, but I hope to be playing in the main event. We'll just see.
Oh yeah. Oh
Well,
yeah.
heck yeah. I believe that's probably going to do it for us. This was a great conversation. Thank you for coming in here and chatting with me. Is there anything
Thank
you
you.
feel like you
Thank you.
haven't touched on that you want to cover, or are you feeling pretty good?
I don't think so. Just, especially with the national season, seeing all these events, and the potential for living legend of New and Azalea, especially. Um, there's going to potentially be some more meta shakeups, so we're going to have to keep, trying and adapting with the Prism deck, seeing how we can attack the meta. Um, and uh, there's a lot of different cards that have been used in the past that are not were not in this current version. This is a pretty streamlined version of the Prism deck that I brought. There's a lot of other things, and I talk about a lot of that in the primer. Things that we can look for the future, things that maybe should be in the deck right now, even
Hmm.
uh, that I can make adjustments for. Um, and then yeah, what we can maybe expect moving forward from this event in terms of Verdant seeing higher representation, Gravy seeing more representation and development to that deck, maybe seeing some other stuff out of the other new heroes. I know Puffin hasn't been doing very well, but I still believe that there's some potential there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, we'll keep you posted. And if you are inspired or think Prism looks like a fun deck, which she really is, check out the primer. Come see all the other stuff we've got over there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Andrew, very much. And this is Willie B from the Card Guys saying you guys have a great rest of your night. See you later.